All right, right here. Yes. Dragonsteel is 7 books. Yeah. So that eventually. What's that? Oh, okay. It'll be exciting. Yeah, Dragonsteel is 7 books. I shouldn't tell you these things because it scares people. The Cosmere sequence was plotted out at, what did I say, 36 books? Yeah, it's 36 books. And so we are getting little glimpses. Trilogy from in Elantris, 2 books from Warbreaker, 9 books in the main Mistborn sequence, 10 in Stormlight Archive, a couple, one of them in Silence Divine. Anyway, White Sand for 3. Anyway, this is a big thing. You don't have to, but before you get scared, know that you don't have to pay any attention to any of this to enjoy the books. This is all behind the scenes, buried. In fact, the reason that we don't have a book about Hoid is because I don't want you to have to have read all of those books in order to understand that book. Does that make sense? As soon as Hoid becomes a main character, then you have to have read the whole sequence to get it. And I don't want you to have to do that. I don't want you to have to have read Mistborn to get the Stormlight Archive. I don't want you to have to have read, I want you to be able to at least pick up a series and read it. And so Hoid may be involved in these things, but he will never be a prominent character changing things until he gets his own sequence. Okay? So there you go. Now I'm making you ask, now I'm making so many questions. Okay, I have to ask Elland, call it Ellie, because he's got, what's that?
I said thank you, my arm hurts.
Yeah. All right, what do you got?
How many ferrochemical powers have you revealed in Alloy of Law?
How many ferrochemical powers have I revealed in Alloy of Law? In the Ars Arcanum in the back, I have revealed them all.
Yes.
Yes. I have not explained them all. But I have revealed all of them. So you are free to go theorize on what they mean. So, anyway. All right. Okay, dude in the hat. What the heck is investiture? It's in the I'm not going to say that because it'd be spoilers for people who haven't read the Ars Arcanum yet. Aha! I got a good reason. Okay, let's do someone up in front. Right here.
How do you get all the different personalities for your characters?
How do I get the different personalities for my characters? With characterization, for me, is a very organic thing. I actually plot my plots in detail. I do my world building in detail before I start a book, but my characters, I feel that if I plan them out too much, they don't have enough life to them. It's a very weird thing to explain, but for me, what I have to do is I have to try writing through this character's eyes. And if it doesn't work, I actually have to toss that chapter and try again. And oftentimes you'll see me to start a book. I have to try a character a couple of times to get them right. And then they just grow into who they are as the plot goes along. And the characters actually have veto power over the plot. And so if they get to a point that I feel the character would not do this, either I need to go back and cast a different person in this role, or more what's that? Found phone? Oh, okay.
AJ Payne?
Okay, we have a phone here. A phone. It looks like, what is it? Is it Samsung phone. It's got a white case, the translucent white case. We will sit it up here for a few minutes until someone panics.
He claims he's his friend, so... Okay.
Okay, he's waiting for Christopher Paolini's book.
We're all witnesses.
Where are the Paolini fans? Are there Paolini fans waiting? Okay. He's a nice guy, by the way. He bought me steak. Yeah. You get also buying me a steak? Yeah. Christopher Paolini is an awesome guy. He took me out to dinner. Anyway, that's how I do my characters. I grow them. If you are very interested in how I write, I do a podcast called Writing Excuses. You can just Google Writing Excuses, and it just plays through your browser. So you don't have to do anything special. You just go there and push play. And it's me and Mary Robinette Cole, who writes these beautiful books that are kind of like Jane Austen with magic. Yeah, she's good, and it's Dan Wells, who writes these really scary, freaky books, but they're really good. I'm Not a Serial Killer. And it's Howard Taylor, who does Schlock Mercenary, the comic strip. So anyway, Writing Excuses, all of you aspiring writers, it's Hugo nominated, it's very well received. I think you'll enjoy it, and you can look by topic and find where I talk about writing characters, and we'll give you a ton of advice. There's maybe 2 hours of advice on characters you can listen to, okay? All right, okay, your hands up, go.
Have you ever thought about like making your creative writing class like open? Like,
have I ever thought about making my creative writing class open? Yes, I have. There's some back and forths here. One thing about the class is I really do like teaching at BYU. I like being a BYU teacher. I like being involved a little bit in my alma mater. I like coming here, and if I were to make the class open, basically I would have to stop teaching at BYU and go to like a library or something like that, and just do it in an auditorium. And I like the class as it is. BYU has policies that say you have to be a BYU student to go to the class, and that's not something I can influence or change. And so as long as I have it at BYU, it kind of has to be that way. Does that make sense? Now, I've tried to get them to let me record it and put it online for free or webcast it, but they have like requirements and rules that so far we haven't been able to make that work. But writing excuses is basically the way that I do my class without doing my class, if that makes sense. So anyway, I like being part of BYU, and so I've had offers to move to UVU. And I, for now, prefer to remain at BYU just because this is where I went to school. They've treated me really well here, and so. But the class is really hard to get into. I'm sorry, guys. It is so hard to get into. Anyway, okay, in the back, sir.
I was just wondering what your schedule is like as a writer with so many projects.
What's my schedule like as a writer with so many projects? Yeah, what I do is I get up really early in the morning, noon. I get up at noon. This is hard sometimes, okay? Maybe once in a while I get up at 11. And usually I write until 5. And that writing I'm interspacing with a lot of email and things like that often, and kind of distraction, but still can be some good writing. Then I go hang with my family. Maybe not. And I then go back to work, depending on the day, at around 8 or 9. And then I work until about 4. And then I go to bed. And usually I'm only writing one book at a time while I'm outlining another, and I'm often revising a third. Does that make sense? I can't do new material usually on 2 projects at once. I can only be doing new material on 1 at a time, but I can be doing some revising on one, and I can be doing some planning on another. But the truth is I'm much a segmented writer. I work in segments on things, and so like right now when I'm very into working on the Wheel of Time, I'm not usually revising anything else or doing much planning. I'm all gung-ho on this one thing, and then I'll shift modes eventually and do something else. All right, let's go to this side, right here. Yes. Tolkien hated allegory. He thought that his stories should just be stories, and I actually feel similar to him. I do have theme in my books, but I let the theme come as an outgrowth of what the characters like to write. Or, hey, like not to write, but I just noticed that, hey, how are you doing? That's a friend. I let the theme develop by what the characters are passionate about. And certainly there are certain things, you'll read Way of Kings, and what Dalinar is very interested in becomes a very big theme spiritually in the book. But it's not me going in and intentionally writing allegory. I like the story to stand as a story. I'm telling stories. I'm not writing metaphors. Certain people are very good at that. C.S. Lewis did a great job of that. It's not what I try to do. Okay, back here.
Okay, I have a short one and then kind of a long one.
A short one and a kind of a long one. Let's do the short one.
How many marks to a brougham?
How many marks to a brougham? Peter, dig out the. It's been so long. I thought I had it at 10, but then I think he came to me and said, "Brandon, this can't be 10." And so it's actually in our wiki. Hey, Peter, where's Peter? Peter, how many marks are in a brougham? Is it 10 or is it 25? Or is it actually? Yeah. Email Peter, he'll tell you. I have to get back into it when I'm so in the Wheel of Time mode. I'm like, well, Tarval on marks and yeah. Anyway. Okay, slightly longer question.
Have you ever done NaNoWriMo?
Have I ever done NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month? Yes, I have done it. I did it several times before I got published. Way of Kings, I wrote during a NaNoWriMo, the original of it. I actually wrote a NaNoWriMo pep talk this year. They asked me to, and so if you're doing it, you'll get from me in the inbox telling you, go write your books. But usually I can't do it officially because I'm in the middle of a book, and I can't stop a book and write another one. I will eventually be able to do that, but the wheel of time and things have been so demanding lately that my schedule doesn't allow me to, in November, stop writing, and I'm usually touring in November, almost always, which is really tough for getting 50,000 words. But if you haven't done it, NaNoWriMo is awesome. Okay, hand in the back who's been holding it up very eagerly the whole time. Yes, you, go ahead.
Can a drab return?
Okay, I can't even hear it. Oh, can a drab return? A drab cannot return as the returned are known. However, there are things about the drabs which are not completely understood. Yes. So, there you are. Yeah, but a drab without a breath, it's going to be very hard. How shall I say? Yes. Drabs do not return. Okay. Good question, by the way. No one's ever asked me that one before. Okay, right here. Uh-huh.
How long do you think you'll be teaching? Do you think you quit anytime soon?
How long will I be teaching the class? As long as I can somehow half justify it to myself. I mean, I'm so busy, but I don't want the class to be canceled. I almost went and did it, team taught it this year with a friend, almost, and went to half doing it. But then she couldn't do it, so I just said yes. There is a possibility that someday I just won't be able to do it anymore, but I'll keep trying to. So no promises.
Okay, I just don't remember that you were quitting in a few semesters. I didn't think that was true.
Right. Well, I mean, I've been talking every time I teach the class. I say to people, I love doing this, but why am I doing this? Reading finals takes so much effort and so much work. It kills me. So, all right, right here.
Who's going to be the focus of the next Way of Kings?
Who's going to be the focus of the next Way of Kings? I spent a long time deliberating this, and eventually in my plotting, I just came upon kind of one of those moments you're like, oh, this is what I need to do. So it is going to be Shalon. So the focus of the next book is Shalon. People half of you wanted to be Dalinar, half of you wanted to be Shalon. Dalinar will get his book. Shalon will get her book. But there's a funny story here, because in my original outline, I named many of the books. Like Dalinar's book is named High Prince of War. And Shalon's book was actually named after the book that Yasna gives her, which is very thematically important to her. But then I started telling it to people, and they started laughing, because the book that Yasna gave her is called The Book of Endless Pages. And so I thought that was a really cool title, but apparently that's going to give the reviewers too much fuel. So you can pretend in your head it's called that, but I'll have to come up with a different name because too many people laugh. So the unofficial title is The Book of Endless Pages. But all right, let's go back here to the dude in the goatee.
All right. The last Alcatraz book was kind of left on a cliffhanger. What's the future for that series?
What's the future for the Alcatraz books? I'm actually in negotiations right now to bring the Alcatraz books to Tor. Because we want to recover them and re-release them, and so I'm kind of putting it in a little bit of limbo until I can get it to Tor. They were at Scholastic, and we're in negotiations. There's some things I very much liked about Scholastic, but at this point we kind of want to have them, all my books, at the same publisher. And so if we do that, we will re-release with new covers, and then I will do the last book. Okay? Was this about Alcatraz? You had a quick question. Okay.
How can you release the book with new covers when sometimes the text references?
Yeah. Well, I would just be able to say, then the cover of that the original cover of the second book would make sense. I can add a little addendum. Okay, all right here.
How many magic systems have you gotten rid of, and how do you choose which ones to keep?
How many magic systems have I gotten rid of, and how do I choose which ones to keep? It's an ever-growing process. I mean, I've discarded tons of magic systems, dozens, maybe hundreds. And I keep them based on how virile they are, how, against the other magic systems I'm thinking of, how well this one appeals to me. And sometimes it depends on whether I have a book that will fit that magic or not. For instance, some books are very action-oriented, and some magics are not very action-oriented. And so the magic needs to fit the book, and so they just kind of keep spinning around in there until they work. Right here.
For me, when I read The Way of Kings, Dalinar struck me very strongly as resembling Konstantin Dmitrovich Levin from Anna Karenina.
Okay.
And Eli Stone a little bit. But I was just wondering if you had particular inspirations from classics or anything that you brought into your book.
Do I have particular inspirations from classics that I brought in my books? Well, you know, I did have a degree in English, and so I read lots of stuff. But my favorite classics are Moby Dick, Les Miserables, and depending on the day, one of the A.J. and Austen books. It changes. And so those are definite influences. You can probably see some Les Mis influence, a lot of it, in the Mistborn books. Several places where I kind of consciously let myself be influenced there. I wouldn't say that the Dalinar... See, the thing is, Dalinar I started building as a character when I was 15. It was my first character. In fact, I posted on Tor.com when Way of Kings came out the page from my very first novel that I tried to write when I was 14 that was really, really bad, and it has Dalinar in it. And he's one of the few characters who has survived through all of these years from, you know, maturing and growing and things like this. The story of the brother of the king dies, and the brother must decide kind of, does he take control or does he let his nephew take control of this guy? Anyway, and so a lot of things have influenced Dalinar, but I can't point to one specific influence. All right, right here in the green hat. With Alloy of Law, he says being more steampunk-like, and I'll add a caveat here. I don't really view Alloy of Law as being steampunk, but they put goggles on the cover. I think steampunk's really popular. I don't view it as being steampunk because it doesn't fit the Victorian feel. It's much more Edwardian. It's much it's later era. And it's based. The book is based on really 1910 New York, the feel and culture that was then. But it's really a Mistborn book. I think when you read it, you'll feel that it's more a Mistborn book than it is a steampunk book or a Western or anything. It's Mistborn. It's Alamancers with guns instead. And so, what have I done differently? I really wanted to keep it feeling like a Mistborn book with some new elements. I was really, honestly, more trying to channel something like more of a Sherlock Holmes feel than anything else, because I wanted the mystery feel, and I wanted the character dynamic feel and things like that. And so this was just a conscious choice of mine to do 2 or 3 compelling main characters who could be in a more episodic story. I was more focused on that than on whether this is steampunk or whether this is what. I really wanted to thematically still feel like a Mistborn book. So, yes. Yes, brief announcement.
So the time is about 11:50. In 5 minutes we'll be lining up, roughly according to numbers, to go up the stairs, grab your book, come back down, and get it personalized. Just 5 more minutes. So
what we need to do right now is we really need the people who are willing to give up a book to get one later on to come up. So we need everyone who can do that to come up. Hey, I know you too. If you've got 2 books and one of them you can get later, come up, get in line. I will make sure it's worth your time to do this, and that way everybody gets a book. Okay. So how are we doing this? You guys got it taken care of over here? Okay.
So we'll have everybody go up towards the stairs. On the south side of the stairs is where we'll all go up, and then come back down on the north side of the stairs.
This is only if you're giving up your book. Okay. This is only if you're giving